Good morning, everyone. I am Ana Claudia Subieta, the Ohio SNAP-Ed F&P Director, and I am thrilled to be presenting the webinar on discovering the power of being with my colleagues, Amber Regan, a dietetic intern in the Department of Nutrition at Ohio State University, and Susan Cease, a family and consumer science educator, Lucas County, Ohio State University Extension. I will be starting the presentation with the science behind the power of beans, followed by Susan, who will present some practical information on bean consumption as well as purchasing tips. At the end, Amber and I will wrap things up with some practical recipes for you to try. Beans are ancient foods that have been cultivated all over the earth for thousands of years. A staple food of many cultures, including those of Asia, South America, Central America, and the Middle East. They're very portable, tasty, and non-perishable foods that can be easily adapted into any cuisine. Yet, this versatile nutritional powerhouse is often relegated to the back of the pantry, as many consider beans the poor man's meat. The general thought among people has been that beans are not needed anymore, as they are getting their protein requirements now from animal products. But let's look at beans a bit closer. Beans, sometimes referred as nature's perfect foods, derive from plants. It is one of those foods that can be a part of the protein group and the vegetable and fruit group. Beans are more than just a meat substitute, and due to the rich nutrient content that beans have, the Dietary Guidelines for 2010 recommends we triple bean intake from 1 to 3 cups a week. So, why are the dietary guidelines for Americans in 2010 emphasizing beans? Because beans are a very good source of protein, are a low-fat food, which contains no saturated fats or cholesterol. Beans are excellent source of high-quality fiber, and are micronutrient-rich powerhouse, providing several vitamins such as folic acid and minerals such as iron. So before we proceed with the proteins in beans, I would like to review some basics of proteins. A protein is a biochemical substance made up of smaller materials or building blocks called amino acids. Of the 22 amino acids, 9 are considered essential for human. Animal protein contains all of these essential amino acids. But except for soy, most plant proteins are missing one or more of these building blocks or amino acids. Proteins are classified as micronutrients because we consume and need large quantities of them. So why do we need proteins? Proteins is required for the body to grow, to maintain and to repair cells. Protein is a major component of all muscle, tissues, and organs, and is vital for practically every process that occurs within the body, such as metabolism, digestion, and the transportation of nutrients and oxygen in the body. It is also necessary for the production of antibodies, which fight against infection and illnesses. Many feel that the only good sources of proteins that we consume are from animals, such as meat, eggs, or dairy products. It is important to make a note that beans are a wonderful source of proteins and can be consumed in greater quantities because they are packed with many nutrients while being low in calories and fat. Beans can provide between 2 to 5 grams of protein per 1 ounce serving versus 7 to 9 grams per 1 ounce servings of proteins in meat. In addition, for vegetarians or those of us who are not fond of consuming meat, beans become a very good source of proteins. As I mentioned earlier, except for soy, beans are not a complete protein. This means that they're missing one or more essential amino acids. By essential, we mean that these amino acids cannot be produced or synthesized by the human body and therefore need to come from our diet. When beans are combined with other foods, such as grain, a complete protein is formed. And it has been shown that it's not necessary to consume these foods at the same time as long as the foods are eaten within 24 hours. Beans are naturally very low in fat and contain no saturated fats or cholesterol. In the example in this slide, we show the difference between a 3-ounce serving of pinto beans compared to a 3-ounce serving of an 80-20 ground chuck, which could represent a hamburger patty. Notice the difference in the fat and caloric content between the two. Yes, the meat does contain slightly more than double the protein content as the beans. However, it will be more than acceptable to have a double serving of beans or mix different types of beans together to increase your protein intake. And this will still result in a very low-fat meal that is nutrient-dense. The beans will also satisfy hunger for a longer time when compared to the burger. Here again, before we discuss fiber in beans, I would like to review the different types of fiber that exist. We have soluble fiber and insoluble fibers in the diet. Soluble fibers attract water and form a gel, which slows down digestion. Soluble fibers delays the emptying of your stomach and makes you feel full, which helps control weight. Slower stomach emptying may also affect blood sugar levels and have a beneficial effect on insulin sensitivity, which may help control diabetes. Soluble fiber can also help lower LDL cholesterol or low-density lipoprotein, which is a bad cholesterol, by interfering with the absorption of dietary cholesterol. Insoluble fibers are considered gut-healthy fibers because they have a laxative effect and add bulk to the diet, helping prevent constipation. These fibers do not dissolve in water, so they pass through the GI tract relatively intact and speed up the passage of food and waste through your gut. Insoluble fibers are mainly found in whole grains and vegetables. Beans are an excellent source of fiber. Do not worry about the type of fiber you're getting. Just focus on high fiber foods like beans. Fiber intake for Americans averages about 15 grams per day, nearly half of the recommended amount, which is for women 25 to 28 grams a day and for men 28 to 31 grams a day. A half cup of cooked beans provide 12 grams of fiber, while meats have no fiber at all. The Dietary Guidelines 2010 recommends 4 to 5 half cup of beans per week when based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Additionally, beans are a micronutrient powerhouse. They contain minerals such as iron, which is essential to hemoglobin, helps with brain development and supports a healthy immune system, magnesium, which allows for the contraction and relaxation of muscles and serve as a component of bones, and zinc, which is critical for cell reproduction. It is a cofactor for more than 200 enzymes and helps with the metabolism of micronutrients. Beans also contain important vitamins like folate or folic acid, which is important in women throughout the childbearing years to help prevent neural tube defects in infants, as well as thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin, some of the B vitamins that allow for the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Last but not least, beans are high in phytochemicals, which are compounds found only in plants. Antioxidants, a class of phytochemicals found in beans, works to incapacitate cell-damaging free radicals in the body, a process that has been implicated in everything from cancer and aging to neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson and Alzheimer's. A USDA study that was done in 2004 measured antioxidant capacities of more than 100 common foods. 3 types of beans made the top 4 of this list, and those were small red beans, red kidney beans, and pinto beans. And 3 others, black beans, navy beans, and black-eyed peas, were found among the top 40 of the list. In conclusion, I think we have discovered the power of beans not only as an ideal substitute for meats as a source for protein, but also as a powerhouse of many other important nutrients. Now I will pass it to Susan, who will present some practical information on purchasing, preparation, storage, and food safety of beans.
Thank you, Ana Claudia. Eating dried beans and other legumes can positively benefit our health. For those of you who know French, the French word for legumes is actually vegetables, only pronounced in French. Legumes are a wonderful food to have in the diet because they are low in fat, they don't have any cholesterol, and they give us so many nutrients. They are very versatile, and they can be added to many different meals throughout our day. Not to mention, they help reduce the risk of several different diseases. Legumes fit in both the vegetable and the protein group. However, it does not mean that if you have 1 serving of beans, that this will count towards your daily recommendation for both groups. Just one of them. It's an either or. Either it will count towards the vegetables or the protein. These are some examples of legumes. As we can see on the chart, we have a variety of different examples here. Kidney beans, navy beans, snow peas, lentils, and peanuts are all examples. The question of what is the difference between dried versus canned beans comes up when the topic of beans is discussed. Both forms have their pros as well as their cons. Canned beans add a lot of convenience to the consumer. All they need is a can opener and they have their product. In addition, canned beans provide less gas-producing sugars. Dried beans, on the other hand, are a great way to cut the grocery bill. And in today's tough economic times, who doesn't want more money in their wallet? Dried beans, on an average, are at least 1/2 to 2/3 the price of canned beans. Let's take a little closer look and do a cost comparison here. 1 cup per week canned is going to cost us $28.34 per year, or 54.5 cents per cup. On the other hand, if we have dried beans, it is going to cost us $8.23 per year, or 15.8 cents per cup. One cup of dried beans will expand to 2 to 3 cups cooked beans. 1 pound of dried beans equals 5 to 6 cups cooked beans, whereas a 15.5 ounce can of drained beans equals 2 cups of cooked beans. So if a recipe calls for cooking 1 pound of dry beans, you could get the same amount of cooked beans from nearly 3 cans of the drained beans. When cooking dried beans, The first preparation step is to sort them and rinse the beans. You can lay them out on a cookie sheet, sort through them to remove any discolored or shriveled pieces, put the beans in a strainer or colander and rinse with cold water. Place the rinsed beans in a large cooking pan. Cover with 3 cups water per 1 cup of beans or 10 cups water per 1 pound of dried beans. There are several soaking methods. Beans can be soaked overnight, or you can use a quick soak method can be used by bringing them to a boil and boil to 2 to 3 minutes. Remove it from the heat and then let sit for 1 to 4 hours. After the beans have been soaked, transfer to a large pot and add fresh water. Fresh water reduces the bean gas. Cook the beans anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending upon the type of beans and how long they are soaked for. Lentils and peas, on the other hand, these legumes do not need to be pre-soaked before cooking. A great way to save time and money is to plan ahead when using beans. You could cook up a large pot of beans and then use quart-sized freezer bags and freeze in 1 to 2 cup amounts. Thaw the frozen beans either using the defrost cycle in the microwave or in the refrigerator overnight, or by setting them in a pan of water for 1 hour. The last time I taught a class about beans, I asked the participants to tell me one word that came to their mind. A majority of the program participants said the word gas. And gas is a concern for consumers when eating dried beans, but there are some tips to help prevent the gas. Add beans slowly to the diet. Add them over a period of several weeks. Once you eat beans on a regular basis, intestinal gas will be less of a problem. Our bodies just need to get accustomed to it. Use the hot soak method instead of the cold water overnight method. This method reduces many of the gas-producing substances in beans. Remember to empty the soaking water and rinse beans with fresh water after soaking. If we chew the beans well, that can aid in the digestion as well. Lastly, drink plenty of water or other fluids helps our bodies handle the extra fiber in the beans. Keeping dried beans safe. Here are a few tips to help our consumers. Store dry beans in an unopened package or a covered container in a cool, dry place. Refrigerate cooked beans until ready to use. Use within 2 to 3 days. Or freeze the beans for longer storage. However, remember to thaw the frozen beans safely either in the refrigerator or in the defrost cycle in the microwave. Beans are a healthy and economic food to add to our diets. They can be added to help stretch our food dollars. Cooked beans can stretch soups, stews, and casseroles. Beans can easily be added to a tossed salad. Try cooked beans in salads with chopped onion, peppers, corn, tomatoes, and just add any salad dressing. Cooked beans are wonderfully mixed with any noodle dish. Beans are a great addition to breakfast, lunch, or the dinner meal. Now we are going to see some recipe demonstrations on how easy it is to incorporate beans in the diet.
Okay, hello. I'd like to introduce to you Amber Riggin, who is going to be preparing some beans recipes that include beans. And Amber is a dietetic intern in the Department of Human Nutrition here at Ohio State.
All right, today, Anna, we will be making a Southwest egg roll incorporating the beans.
That sounds very yummy.
Okay. Would you like to help make it?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so we have a variety of ingredients here, and I'll just have you add them in one by one. So we've got some cooked chicken breast that I've cut up We'll just add it into a mixture of green pepper and green onions that have been sauteing in just a little bit of oil, about a tablespoon or so of oil. And the chicken should be cooked. It doesn't have to be hot, but it should be not cold. That way it'll cook through a little bit faster. Alright, and then we'll add in some black beans.
Okay.
And this is an entire cup of black beans.
Okay. It's like a can?
This is about half a can.
Okay.
Alright, and then we'll add in about a quarter cup of frozen corn. And this can be frozen. This will warm up real fast in the pan.
Okay.
And about a half a cup of chopped fresh spinach. This is right there.
Looking very nice. Colorful.
Nice and colorful. And I did have green pepper sauteing along with the onions, but you can use red pepper and add an extra color in there, make it nice and bright. And then last of all, we're going to add about a teaspoon of chili powder in there.
Okay.
And I used the spicy chili powder because I like things a little bit warm, but you're welcome to use any kind you like. And then we will cook this until the spinach is wilted down, about 4 or 5 minutes. Alright, so our spinach is wilted down, and since everything else is cooked, that means it's all ready to go. So we'll take this off the heat, and we'll add in our cheese. And this is about three quarters of a cup of low-fat cheese, so makes it a little bit healthier for you.
And very yummy.
Yes, looks very good.
Delicious.
And it'll melt right away, so all you need to do is stir it enough to where that'll melt into the topping. And then we have a whole wheat tortilla to put it into here. And this will make probably about 4 or 5 of the egg rolls, depending on how. So you can tell there's a lot of beans in here. If you make 4 of those, it'll give you a quarter cup of beans. And I hear that you have been telling the audience how good beans are for us. What is it that's so special about them?
Well, actually, beans can be considered actually like almost a perfect food because they're really loaded with great ingredients for our bodies. For example, they have lots of vitamins and minerals. They're a great source of protein. They're a great source of fiber. And in addition, they are very low in fat.
Oh.
And actually, to top it all off, they're very, very cheap. Product. You can actually buy dry beans, a whole bag of dry beans, about 16 ounces for less than $2, and that will lead to about 10 to 14 1 ounce equivalent of or a quarter cup of cooked beans. So
that's a lot of beans for not a lot of money. Even the canned beans aren't very expensive because I got a can of beans and it only used about half in this recipe, and it was only probably about 75 cents. Yeah. So if you get the generic brand, it's nice and inexpensive, right?
Right. And one thing you have to be careful with the can though, that it could have sodium. So for people who are buying canned beans, that want to make sure that either they don't have an issue with a little extra sodium or that they look for the no sodium beans.
And you can rinse them off too, right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Although they are still a little higher in sodium than the dried ones.
Right.
All right. So we have our rolled tortilla around the mix, and I just kind of eyeballed it. But if you want to put about a quarter to a fifth of the mixture in the tortilla, and you'll roll it up kind of like you would an egg roll or a teeny tiny burrito.
Okay.
So you might want to use a toothpick if you're going to be making these ahead of time, and you can kind of spear it through the side. And as you roll them all up, if you want to save them for another day, you can put them in the freezer and then freeze them for up to a month and take them out and bake them whenever you'd like to eat them.
Okay, that sounds great.
Or if you're going to bake them right away, we have a baking sheet here. You can set your oven to 350 and range all of your rolls on a pan. Give them a little spritz with oil so they crunch up nice, and then bake them for about 20 minutes in the oven.
Wonderful.
All right, so we have our egg roll done. But before we start, would you like to make a little dipping sauce to try it with?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, so you mashed up an avocado for us, right? And we have about half a cup each of low-fat mayonnaise and fat-free sour cream. So it's just a nice, fast dipping sauce. Mix all this together. And you can use these egg rolls as either a meal or an appetizer or a little snack, depending on how you cut them. So we have ours cut in half, so that would be about an appetizer size. If you want to serve them for dinner, it would be about 2 per person.
Okay.
And then each person would have roughly half a cup of beans if they ate 2. Mix this right up. And you can add a little salt and pepper to taste, or any kind of spices, or even some cilantro would be really good in there. So we'll just go with simple avocado sauce. All right, and give it a try.
Okay, let's do it.
It's very good. Good. All right, Anna, we will be finishing off with a marinated 3-bean salad.
Okay.
And this is a really fast idea if you have company or if you don't have any time to prepare a meal. And it's also a great way to get your beans in.
Okay.
So today we'll be using 3 different types of canned beans. So it's super easy. You don't even have to have anything other than some optional vegetables to add in. You don't really have to have anything special prepared or go to the store special. You just keep the beans around and dump them in a bowl. So we'll start out with 1 full can of kidney beans. And then we also have a full can of lima beans. And 1 full can of drained green beans. And you can use the French cut or the regular. And then to give it a little flavor, we have about half of a red onion sliced up into rings. And a small diced up green pepper. And then I'll have you add on top some Italian dressing.
Okay. So tell me, can you use some other kinds of beans with this recipe?
Yeah, if you're not really a kidney bean fan or you had a childhood aversion to lima beans, you can add any kind of bean you like. Or if you have your own favorite dried bean, you can use that. Just use 2 cups of the dried beans. So you want to stir all this together. And that is an entire bottle of Italian dressing. Use low fat if you can, because we want to cut down the fat, of course. But make sure that before you eat it, you drain off all the Italian dressing, and it will have soaked in all the good taste. But you have the dressing, any kind of fat from the dressing will be down the drain. So we'll have that, and then you can use leftovers in a wrap or on top of a salad. Quick meal idea.
And you soak it for about an hour, you said?
About an hour, or longer if you'd like. It'll be tastier the longer you soak it.
Okay.